Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning, and today we've got another really interesting combo to run with two shells that are pretty much the same but a little bit different shot sizes, and I'm really curious to put the two of them head to head and see what the difference actually is. Based on what we found with this type of shell combo here in our recent testing anyway, and what its limitations actually are, this should be a rather interesting head to head to run and see what the real difference actually is, and if there's a definite winner out of the two, or at least a better idea if you were to run a combo like this anyway. But first up, for the shells that we're going to run head to head today, I brought out some more of these Herter's 410 lead loads. These are just your basic wing shooting or clay shooting type of shells. But even though they're in two different boxes, we've essentially got the same shell but in different shot sizes here. This is just last year's box with the green design and this year's new box art with this red, white, and blue design. But both of these are a 410 3-inch 11/16 ounce payload, moving about 1135 feet per second. But in the red, white, and blue box, we have lead 6s, and in the green box, we have lead 7.5 shot. Now, immediately, we already know that lead for turkey hunting from a 410 is not the most ideal combo. Can it be done? Yes, absolutely. Is it as good as TSS? No, definitely not. And you have to limit your ranges. But we've consistently found that about 30 yards is probably top of the range idea that you would want to try and push a lead load to in a 410, kind of regardless of shot size, really. And we've consistently found that the smaller shot size, the better. Thus, that's where these 7.5s come into play. Terminal performance-wise, the 6s are better, but the 7.5s will do the job out to that 30-yard range on a turkey. And they're also going to give you noticeably higher pellet count in your shell as well. So if you're going to turkey hunt with lead in a 410 anyway, 7.5s might be the better option to go with. So we'll see what these two do head to head and see, since these are the same shell, how the 6s versus the 7.5s actually look at 30 yards. As for the shotgun we're going to be running today, I brought out this. This is an old New England Firearms Pardner model SB-1. It is a youth model as well, so it's got the short length of pull with the shorter 22-inch barrel on it. I have had a Simmons red dot mounted on top here to make it a little bit easier for an adult to actually get a good cheek weld on it. But like I said, 22-inch barrel. This one has a fixed full choke, measures right at 395 for a constriction, so very typical numbers there. And yes, this does add to our setup. This is a very limited shotgun when it comes to turkey hunting. I think we can all agree on that with both this gun and these shells. But 30 yards with a fixed full choke 410 and some lead shells, I think that's going to be a pretty good test to see what the real difference actually is between 6s and 7.5s, since a lot of people have these little fixed full choke 410s. So this could be interesting. We could see that our patterns are really starting to push it at 30, or there really could be a difference between these two shot sizes, at least when we run it through a combo like this. But for our test today, like I've already said, we're going to take a shot with each of those two shells at 30 yards side by side, and we've got the chronograph over here to get our velocity as well. So let's get you guys a view of those two targets. We'll start with the 6s, then we'll go to the 7.5s, and we'll see what the real difference is, at least through an old fixed full choke 410. If you wanted to hunt with lead, is there one that's a better idea than the other? I don't know yet, but let's take our shots and see what the difference really is. Okay, so quick look at our velocities before we look at our targets. We have a boss claim of 1135 for both of those shells. We do have a 22-inch barrel, which may be a little bit shorter than what the factory may have tested them through. The 6s gave us 1079, and the 7.5s gave us 1162. So the 6s were a little below, the 7.5s were a little bit above the boss claim, but between the two, we're averaging 1120. So we're pretty close to what the box is saying on average anyway between these. It's good enough velocity within 30 yards to do the job for sure. But did we have the pattern capability to do it or not? Let's go check it out and see what the differences are. Okay, so now we're down here at our two 30-yard targets side by side. We have our 6s on the left, our 7.5s on the right, and And we see some pretty interesting developments here. Not exactly what I thought we would see. Now, again, I'm going to reiterate, obviously, lead in a 410 for turkey hunting is extremely limited at the best of times. From our previous testing, we found 30 yards to be kind of the limit. Some combos definitely perform way better at 30 than others do. The reason I started here today with the shotgun that we did is because of how common those actually are to have those old single shot fixed full choke 410s. I think both of these can definitely do a little better with something like maybe my Mossberg 500 and an actual turkey choke. That's a little tighter constriction, but for how common those guns are, I wanted to start there and see what we would get. And we can definitely tell that we're at the limit, if not a little bit over it. And quite honestly, neither of these shells performed as good as what I had hoped they would, although I didn't have super high expectations for them in the first place. But first, we'll start over here on the left. These are the Herter's Claybird number 6s. And do we have a dead turkey? Yes, we most certainly do. There are 3 of them through the brain there that would have absolutely done the job. However, the pattern is obviously very broad, very scattered, kind of all over the place. We've even seen better just lead number 6 patterns from that same gun at 30 yards with other shells. So maybe these Herter's loads aren't the greatest 410 lead loads out there. That's a little surprising because Herter's has been a very consistently reliable performer pretty much no matter what shell we run through any gauge or any shotgun. If you don't know as well, Herter's is the in-house brand name for Cabela's and Bass Pro, but it is all just Winchester stuff. So think of both of these shells as just a Winchester Super X. That's what these really are, just in a different box. But 30, even though we have a dead turkey, I don't know that I would reliably trust it out to there. 20, maybe 25 yards is probably a better idea here. Although we do have the terminal performance to do it, the pattern capability just isn't there. It is really just all over the place, to be honest with you. Obviously, I didn't expect to have a really nice, tight, condensed area of shot, but I thought we would have at least a handful more of them on the turkey paper. But really, when we look at the 7.5s here in just a second, I think these 6s actually may have patterned a little bit better, at least to get a dead turkey with them anyway. Maybe the little more open, just regular old full choke in that gun prefers a little larger pellet. Because now we have our 7.5s over here on the right. Obviously, still the same story with it being a very broad pattern, shot just all over the place. I expected there to be a little bit noticeably more pellets right across the turkey paper. Now, the big glaring thing with this pattern is it looks like we have a straight up slug hole down there in the turkey target. That isn't actually the case. That is where the wad impacted. And I did indeed find the wad. To my surprise, these are using 2 different wads in each of these shells, and there was 2 or 3 pellets stuck in the bottom of this wad in particular, and this wad has a much thicker, much heavier base to it. So we didn't completely, have a wild result here because we had a ton of pellets stuck in the wad. It's not at all uncommon for that to happen, and we will take a close-up look at it here in a second, but this is still a valid result even if we did have that, and it didn't punch through much of anything other than a couple sheets of paper there, so it looks worse than what it actually is. It's not a slug hole with a bunch of pellets. But dead turkey at 30? Maybe not on this one. Nothing through the brain. You had 1 or 2 that might have got close to the spine, and a few body shots that would have slowed him down a little maybe, but that's about it. I thought this would be the winning pattern for sure, but I'm not so sure about that, at least from this gun. Putting him through a modern gun with a turkey choke might be a different story, and that might be a test we have to do to really see the difference in potential anyway. But for a fixed full choke gun, not impressed with this pattern either, that's for sure. I probably would not push that to 30 yards. 20 to 25 would be the limit. But let's pull both of these targets down. We'll count some pellets and draw some circles. Not going to be much to see, but we'll have at least the number difference between the two as far as pellet count goes. Okay, now turkey targets are out of our way and we can see the exact number difference between these two. They're not far off from one another, but neither of them is impressive. And technically, I think we have a winner as far as the core goes, but really neither one is a combo I would push to 30 yards. Again, 6s are on the left, 7.5s are on the right. As far as our sixes go, we have 10 and 20-inch circles drawn here. Within our 10-inch core, we only have 23 pellets, and within the 20-inch, we only have 34. It's definitely nothing impressive, for sure. I mean, small game rabbit load, yeah, that's probably what these are more intended for, at least definitely through a setup like that anyway. As far as turkeys go, you might kill one, but it's not a combo I would reliably trust to do the job. And moving over with our 7.5 shot, we now only have 19 pellets through our 10-inch core compared to 23 with the sixes. So we lost 4 pellets there. And we now have 43 in our 20-inch ring compared to 39. So we gained 4 of them there. So mathematically, it does kind of line up here with this 7.5 shot, although I figured with it being a good amount more pellets in the entire shell, being smaller shot size, we would put several more through our core area to fill it in a little. That's not exactly what happened here, at least not with this particular setup combo that we ran them through. Although if you're doing small game and stuff like that, rabbits, this still might be the better pattern. There's more pellets throughout the entire rest of the pattern. Even if you lost a couple in the dead center core, I think it is a little more even throughout the entire thing as well. So that may be a factor for people wanting to hunt with these that are not going to actually run them for turkeys anyway. So overall, I'm really not too impressed with either one. I did not have super high expectations coming into it here. I know the limitations on what these can do. I think we all can agree that neither of these is the best ideal 410 turkey combo, but I think there's at least several of us that would have thought we would have seen a noticeable pellet count jump with the 7.5s compared to the sixes. We didn't see that. Maybe a little more choke might favor the 7.5 some, but at least with this gun, seems like the sixes might be the better option, and neither of these has done the best we've seen so far out the 30 yards for turkeys, so there may be other lead options that are better than what these are for turkey hunting as well, getting a little bit tighter of a spread. So not what I thought we would see, but this is why you test things to see what happens, because a lot of times you will be surprised on what you get. And here are your 2 wads out of those shells. On the left, you have your Claybird 6s. This is the newer box art design. Maybe it's just different shot size as to why they use a different wad, or it could just be they've went to this wad here recently. But on the right, you have your 7.5 shot in the green Herter's box. Definitely a little bit different wad designs between the two. And on those 7.5s, you can see those couple pellets stuck in the bottom there. But would those 3 pellets have made the difference in our 7.5 pattern? No, definitely not. But you can see how much thicker this base is down here as well. That's what actually punched a hole through our target there. It looks worse than what it actually is. This was just tumbling and flying backwards when it hit the paper and punched through a couple layers of paper. So interesting to see the difference between these wads, and who knows, it could be a case of if they put 7.5s in this 6 wad, maybe they'd perform a little better. I don't know, but it's definitely worth at least trying these at some point through a little tighter choke and seeing what the difference is through an actual turkey hunting setup. We know they're still going to be limited, especially with wads like this, but you never know until you try it. And I would have really thought these would have had the same wad, but they obviously do not. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about these 2 combos right here? Not what I figured we would see. Even if this is about the pattern performance that a lot of us probably expected to see, I figured we would have had noticeably more pellets in the core, at least with that 7.5 shot, over what the 6s gave us. That's not exactly the case. Definitely not what we saw here anyway between these 2. We obviously know that everything in this combo is very limited, from the shells to the gun, and 30 yards is top of the range from what we've seen as well. If you're shooting 20 yards, both of these would serve the purpose just fine for turkeys, but you have your limitations when it comes to lead in really any of the sub gauges. You start running out of range very quickly, the smaller the shotgun bore you actually get is. So now maybe we try this test again, running these 2 shells head to head through an actual turkey choke combo. That may be where the 7.5s come into play a little bit better, being able to condense them down a little more than what the 6s can. I don't know, could be worth a test if it's something you guys might want to see, but this was a pretty interesting idea that didn't really give me the results that I kind of thought we might see. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is it about what you expected? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any lead 6s or 7.5s through fixed full choke guns when it comes to turkey applications? And if so, what kind of results have you seen? Are either one of these a combo you would actually hunt with? For the majority of you, probably not, but I'm sure there's a few people that would want a challenge, and obviously these would give it to you for sure. And of course, what other tests do you want to see us run like this? Like I said, either these shells through an actual turkey choke or different lead shells through this gun and see what we can get out to 30 with them. Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, you have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All the information will be in the description if you're interested in it. But I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.